Tori Kruse. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Please put your comments below, and you can also find me on social media at Miss Tori Kruse. Hey ladies, I am super excited. I haven't actually streamed one of my Crownversations, is what I'm calling it, live into its breakthrough time yet. This is the very first one. I am super excited to share this special guest with all of you today. I am starting a series on my podcast, it's Breakthrough Time, called Crownversations, and I'm interviewing the Miss USA 2020 contestants and having them share their experiences, any behind the scenes experiences through pageantry and at Miss USA, and then giving a little bit more information about what they're passionate about. And so I'm super excited to have Merissa Underwood on the show today. Welcome, Merissa. I'm super excited that you're here.
Thank you.
So everybody, Merissa is, like I said, Miss Montana USA 2020. She's a singer, she's a writer, she is a DJ. How badass is that? And she is an environmentalist, a vegan, and just all the things. So Merissa, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you first started your pageant journey, since that's why we're here having a Crownversation.
I love that term, by the way. It's so cute.
Thanks.
I am originally from a place called Wilton, California. It's like an hour south of Sacramento. And I first saw Miss USA on TV when I was probably like 18 and maybe even younger. And I just remember being so enamored by it. And it was so cool because it was like these women were highlighted just for being the amazing women that they were. And they were also individualistic and had their own stories. And I didn't know anybody who did pageants. And I wasn't even a girly girl either. Like, I grew up riding horses. I lived on 10 acres. Like, I was in the creek all the time. I didn't even know what lip gloss was. And I just told my mom, or actually I went online to like MissCaliforniaUSA.com and I asked my mom if I could try it out. And she was like, yeah, let's go. I don't really know anything about it, but let's try it. And so I had originally started competing in California, which is a really intense state. It was my first pageant ever, and I went there and there's like over 100 women who are competing, and they're just amazing, and they're like, they're born for this. And so it was really intimidating for me at first, but I kind of kept to it, and it was just something that I knew no matter what or how, I always wanted to get to Miss USA.
That sounds so similar to how I actually found, I competed at Miss Iowa first before Missouri. But that story is so similar to how I was introduced to pageants too, because I was a tomboy just like you, and I wasn't riding horses. I always tried to talk my dad into riding horses and buying a pony for me, but he never would. So it's a little bitter about that, but not kidding. But I was in sports, and so I was a tomboy as well. And same as you, I typed in Miss Iowa USA and just to see what it was about. Again, wasn't a girly girl. And then I called up my mom, and she's like, "What do you have to lose?" So it's cool to see that that's a pretty similar story. So how many times did you compete in California before going to Montana?
3 in California.
Okay, awesome.
And then on my last year, I knew I had to make moves, and I'd been going to Montana for years. I was a competitive horseback rider. There was a show that I would go to, and I thought to myself, well, where is my second home, essentially? And so I had decided, okay, I'm gonna move to Montana, and everything worked out really well. I put a lot of eggs in one basket, and really fortunately for me, that big move was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, we were kind of talking off camera here, that a lot of us as pageant girls are born and raised in one state and then compete in another. It happens. And also when you're a competitive person, you want to win, you have a big dream, you do what it takes to win, right? So
yeah,
that's, that was, again, Missouri was my second home. I went to like the Ozarks growing up. And so I moved there after college, went to LA for a little bit and came back. So it's, everybody has a different story, and, we can go into this as deep as you want or not, but I think it's really interesting that, I had hesitations when I was competing, when I was in Missouri, and when I moved to LA and then came back, I was like, oh crap, what are people going to say? I lived in California for, almost a full year, not quite, but then I came back and then I won. It's like, I had all of these limiting beliefs and these noises in my ears coming in. And, I just wanted you to touch maybe lightly on it about what that experience was like how you overcame it more so mentally, because I know a lot of us girls do switch states to compete and all of that, and you can get a lot of backlash. So how did you keep your confidence up, your mental state up when you did get those challenges thrown at you?
It was hard at first because there's this big hate towards California as a whole. I've noticed other states really hate California. And this year in the Miss USA 2020 class, I believe there are 12 of us who had previously competed in Miss California USA, who had gone on to move to other states. So this is kind of a phenomenon where women are competing there, and then they feel so strongly that they need to get to Miss USA, and they do what they need to do. And, I got a lot of hate, even though I followed the rules. I lived there. I worked full time there. I paid taxes there, and people still harassed me a lot for it, which was really scary because I was like, okay, well, if I'm not born here, can I claim it? And people would ask me that all the time. So are you born and raised in Montana? And I'm not gonna lie. So I was like, no, I'm not actually.
You don't have to be.
Exactly, and that's the thing. And then I would have to explain the what's the word I'm looking for? The restrictions, or the
right.
You know what I'm trying to say.
The rules, the guidelines too.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I'd have to explain that, and it made me question the legitimacy of myself, which was really frustrating and difficult for a little while. And I just had people had to reassure me, like, Merissa, you followed the rules, you did exactly what you needed to do, and you deserve it. You deserve to win, just like the 11, 12 other women who had the exact same story as I do. And so, this kind of brings me to a bigger issue is why are we so against people moving states anyways, or moving countries, immigration? Why are we so hateful towards people who aren't born in the same area that we're born into? Mm-hmm. But yeah, now I got off into a political tangent.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I walked myself into a political tangent there.
Yeah. Hey, we can dive into it if you want. Just add on to the politics going on in the world. But no, this isn't a political show, so I guess we'll steer away from that. But as far as your reign as Miss Montana USA, so when were you crowned, and what has it been like in a year of so much uncertainty?
I won, I think September 22nd of 2019. So what is that, 14, 15 months ago?
Forever.
Yeah, so long ago. Years ago, it feels like. They're saying uncertainty. It was really difficult. It was really difficult not knowing when Miss USA was going to be. And honestly, it's been really hard having to move on to the next chapter, because there's already a new Miss Montana USA 2021, and she was crowned even before I had gone to Miss USA. That was really hard for me, to have to give up my title before I had even fulfilled what I was supposed to do. But in that situation, I just had to say, these are the cards that I've been dealt, and you have to just move through it. And, pageants really teach you that you have to just keep going.
Oh my gosh, so much. That is so bizarre. That had to be the weirdest feeling ever, to actually give up your crown and your title before even stepping on the Miss USA stage. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. But I was telling you here off camera too, Maureen and David are awesome. Shout out to them. Absolutely love them. They're the best directors ever. Next to Ambrose, of course. My own directors, they were pretty awesome as well. But yeah, it's such an interesting year. So how did you make appearances, and what did you, we don't really have a platform, so to speak, in the Miss Universe organization, but what was your platform as Miss Montana USA? And then what was it like making appearances during a time when our whole world is shut down?
My platform essentially was animal rights, and then also making everyday changes to combat climate change. And one of those, and the biggest in my opinion, is animal agriculture. So I've been a vegan for 6 years, and so I encourage other people to take steps to becoming plant-based, and seeing how their everyday eating habits can affect greenhouse gases on such a large scale. And so that was not met with a lot of happiness in Montana, where we have more cattle than we have people. But it made it so that people were listening to me more. And that was really cool because even though people were angry, I still had ears. And so it presented me with the opportunity to meet so many people I would have never, ever met before. I went to there's this monthly vegan potluck that a lovely lady named Bonnie has been putting on for 10 years. And I got to go and speak there and, join their potluck. Actually, it was my last appearance before the shutdown had happened. That was like when COVID was kind of coming in. And so that was the last thing that I got to do in person. But it just connected me with so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what was one of your biggest challenges that you had to overcome when it came to, talking to these people, trying to, you're representative for the entire state. So you have this voice and, with the crown and sash that you can impact in, so many lives in that state, but really nationwide. But is there anything like a challenge that you had to overcome and like maybe a really cool little success story from speaking up about what you're passionate about?
Yeah, I actually had over 1,000 hate messages. I was attacked viciously and vehemently on social media. I was on the news, and not necessarily in a positive way. I had a lot of hate, and that was really hard. But then with that hate came the shift of the vegan community, the environmentalist community. Montana is actually very progressive in the way that we believe that the earth needs to be protected. People are conservationists there, and we want to protect our lands. And so even if people were angry at me for saying we should all be vegan, people were still on board with saying we need to protect our land and our water and our air. So then I was able to be a voice for, I spoke at Earth Day this year at the actual, like, Leonardo DiCaprio's Earth Day. And it was supposed to be in person, and I was really stoked about that at the Smithsonian. Unfortunately, it had to be virtual, but regardless, I can still say that I spoke at the Smithsonian Earth Day about how to fight climate change with diet change. I'm writing a piece for PETA right now that we're going to put in different newspapers. And so staying true to what I believed, it has paid off, even though it was so hard, but it has completely changed my life.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. That's a huge, huge step. So congratulations. That's awesome. So is that what you're doing now as your full-time job, is working in that industry?
I just accepted a position with Vegan Fashion Week. So they're trying to bring vegan fashion they are bringing vegan fashion to the forefront, talking about sustainable, slow fashion and ethical choices, and how to just be kind to everybody through what you wear as well.
That's really, really awesome. Well, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to follow your journey too as you start that Vegan Fashion Week. So transitioning over into your Miss USA experience. So that was really, as Miss Montana, what you're doing, prepping. Miss USA is already uncertain, right? Like finding the date. I remember back in 2018 when I competed there, it was like we had no idea when the date of Miss USA was until about a month or two before the competition. So that was already uncertain, let alone COVID. Preparing your, matching mask to your gown. I mean, obviously you probably had to do that, right? What was it like training for Miss USA and then not even knowing what to expect at Miss USA?
It had to teach you to be adaptable. I started coaching training as soon as I had won. And so I had a coaching session literally every single week from September all the way till November of this year, like 14 months worth of training. And it gets emotionally exhausting after a while. And I'm a really emotionally sensitive person. And so every week I was like, wow, this is getting, really emotional, having to retell my story this often. But it prepared me for doing things like this, where I can really easily talk about the things that I've gone through and, what I'm working on, etc. But then, it was hard for me with the fitness aspect because I didn't know when everything was going to be, and it's quarantine. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sitting in my room all day. I really want to eat that ice cream, but like, what if it's soon? So that one was hard, like being able to understand or being able to kind of plan my diet was the hardest part, honestly, for me.
For sure. I mean, it was during quarantine, and let's be real. I mean, I always said I had a couple too many glasses of wine, maybe a little too many Italian dinners some nights. And I can imagine having a pageant, right? Like unexpected. It could be that next week or the week after, whenever. So have you found that balance now? And I'm a health coach too, and I also have a winner circle coaching program for pageant girls, but I love the health coaching aspect of it. And I'm just super curious, when it comes to your health, have you found that healthy balance yet of making it a lifestyle instead of just a diet?
When it's not COVID, yes, it's really easy for me. I like to go by the 80-20 rule because I love sweets and I love to indulge. But I'd say 80% of my diet is very, very, very healthy. Fortunately, I grew up in a very healthy family where we were eating spinach and bok choy like it was nothing, like that was normal. It was the fact that it was COVID and I was always inside. That was really hard. And especially like the month before Miss USA, when I knew it was happening, but I couldn't go to the gym. And, you know, it was really hard to kind of motivate myself and work out at home, but I made it happen. I made it work. But I'd say if anything, that was like my biggest mental difficulty was like, I'm just stuck inside of a house. I kind of felt like a hamster, you know, with nowhere to go.
What did you
But
tell yourself in those moments when you were not wanting to work out, but you kept that Miss USA vision in front of you?
But I remember somebody said to me, like right as I had won, he was like, you know, you need to literally be in the best shape of your life because you'll never get to do this again. And so I kept thinking, oh my God, okay, okay. But, you know, I'll be honest with you. When I look back on it, I don't feel like that was 100% who I could have been in an ideal non-COVID quarantine aspect.
Yeah.
But with everything that I was facing and dealing with during quarantine, I'm still really stoked about how I was able to look and perform. And, you know, even if it's not the physical what I had wanted and expected, it was still what I could do. And it was the best that I could do.
Yeah. You know, you leave no stone unturned and you just go out there, you give it your all. And, you know, I feel like we can be super critical about ourselves, right? About our body image, or you have this idea of what you want to look like at Miss USA or in any situation for that matter. You know, you have this goal set out for yourself and you have this vision of, okay, I'm going to be right here. And how many times do we get to that point? Because we set the bar so high for ourselves. And, you know, you were at Miss USA, you competed at Miss USA, and just how awesome is that? And so when you were at Miss USA, was it everything that you thought it would be, or was your experience a little bit different?
You know, so the thing about me is I will always be honest.
I love it.
It was not, you know, I commend them. I really do. Miss Universe organization for putting it on during a pandemic, and it was still a great show. It was not what I had envisioned for the years and years of work that I had put into it. We had, I think, 1 or 2 times that we left the hotel to do anything fun. We weren't allowed to talk to anybody that wasn't in our immediate working group. So, you know, I didn't get to connect with Oklahoma or Louisiana or anybody who wasn't directly in the M. And I think, you know, that's just an issue with having it during COVID. It's nobody's fault. But no, was it the Miss USA I dreamed of? No.
But how about like as far as the performance side of things? Because of course, I mean, the COVID, that just sucks. I mean, there's no way around that. Like that just sucks that had to be the experience that, you know, after all these years, but at the same time, looking at a positive note of that, just thinking like how adaptable you had to be to different situations, like the skills that you learned probably when you're at Miss USA. Can you speak a little bit on that, about the adaptability and like what that can teach you actually in your future? Because I'm sure there's some pageant girls who are listening right now or will listen to the podcast later and they have a pageant coming up, and they have to be adaptable. Like what kind of advice would you give them to be the most adaptable at their pageant during this craziness? And just kind of what skills can they keep in mind that they're going to actually gain from such a weird experience in pageantry?
Well, you'll always get to at least talk about it. Like nobody's ever going to forget the Miss USA class of 2020. And then furthermore, you have to be able to take what is handed to you. And that's kind of how I look at life, is just rolling with the punches and being able to say, well, this is the situation that I have, and I have to do my best in the situation that I've been given. Obviously, nobody had any control over quarantine and having to do everything during COVID. But if this is your opportunity, it's your opportunity. And it may not be in the like sunshine and rainbows way that you want it to be, but it's going to be that way for a reason. And so if you're wanting to compete this year, but you're worried because, you're not going to have a live audience, or, you can't compete on the same stage with the outgoing queen. I know that just happened with Hawaii. They had to be really adaptable and change the way they did everything. But regardless, her life is still going to change. And even if you don't win, this is something that I really want to make sure people understand, is that it's not only about winning. So you need to go and be true to yourself and work on what it is that you're trying to improve or portray as you as an individual for yourself, not because you want to walk away with a crown. So, life is going to change, and you're going to get instances like this that are really hard, but proving that you can still take on that challenge is what makes a queen.
Oh, amen to that. Just drop the mic. We can end there if we wanted to. I totally want to piggyback off of what you said about, basically pageantry isn't the end all be all, because that's exactly why I do what I do now, is because I'm so stinking passionate about helping these girls who are competing in pageants to use it as a stepping stone to where they're going, because pageantry is great. Like, I think we both can agree to that. Pageantry is awesome, the experiences it brings, but it's got to end sometime, unless you're just a lifer or something. I don't know, but that's not most of us. So, I always like to say pageantry is it's a stepping stone to where you're going. Use it as a bigger platform to get you to your ultimate purpose in life. So how have you used pageantry to be that stepping stone to your future career?
It honestly has been the stepping stone, the thing that because while I've been vegan for 6 years and I've been going to animal rights, I've been in that community for so long. Now that I have and having my platform be a vegan diet at Miss USA, people are listening and people care about what I have to say. And it has opened up every single door that I could have ever wanted. And so, for a long time, I was debating whether or not I should lessen up, because I'm very loud about animal rights on social media, and I'm very clear about what I believe in and how I stand. And I had a lot of people say, you should probably quiet it down. You should reel it back in. Let's talk about recycling instead. Let's talk about single-use plastic instead of animals. And I just knew in my mind, like, I need this to propel me past Miss USA. Because for me, it's not only about placing or winning Miss USA. It's about what's my life going to be like afterwards. And I knew that I needed my life to be about animal rights. And so I did everything in my power to make sure that that was the platform that I stayed on, so that when I'm done being Miss Montana USA, I have that I have been talking about the entire year to really hold me up in my career past it. So whatever it is, don't look at why you're here only, like I said, only to win and only for the crown. Being true to yourself is going to be so much more important than any other part of the pageant.
Yes. Gosh, so true. So true. So a big thing that a lot of girls get caught up on, and I've been guilty of it, in the early years of pageantry, was like, what are the judges looking for? Like, I just want it, like, what are they actually looking for? And it just goes to show, like, right there, what you just said, where it's like, be true to yourself and figure out who you are through this journey and determine that. So are there any tips that you can give girls right now, whether they're competing in a pageant or whether just life, like how they can focus on becoming their best self, discovering that inner self instead of worrying about what other people are wanting or what the judges are wanting?
That's a huge thing, is feeling like, oh, I need to fit into this mold. And, let me look at Chesley last year because she was like this, so I also need to look like her. I actually had a friend say to me, well, I noticed that you wore a light gown and you won. And then the title holder the year before wore a light gold gown like yours, and she also won. So maybe I need a light gold gown. And I was like, no, that's just happenstance. That's just coincidence. It needs to be what's true to you. And so maybe, like for me, when I'm trying to dig deep, I like to spend a night alone. I listen to whatever music puts me in my feels, and I write. and I discover what it is where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want my life to look like? When people talk about me, what do I want them to say? And then you can work on it from there, because if you come into a room and you say what you think the judges want to hear, they're going to see right through you. Because I've seen it happen where a girl comes out and she's like perfect to the T's. She hit every mark. Her hair is shiny and perfect. And she answers her question in a very perfect pageant patty way, and she doesn't win. But
Pageant patty, that's the kicker.
The pageant patty.
Patty.
Exactly. And she doesn't win because she's not being authentic to herself. She's doing everything in the checkbox, like checking the marks to say, well, this is what they wanted last year, and this is what will be great. They want somebody they can sit down and hang out with and have lunch with and be inspired by, and somebody they can send into a room and know that that person will be nice and be able to communicate with others in a way that it's about the other person and not them as an individual.
Yes. I love that so much. Well, I don't know if I even need to ask you this last question, but wrapping up here, is there any other piece of advice that you would give aspiring title holders? You've already given up your title, so I'll say aspiring title holders as a whole. What kind of advice would you give them moving into the 2021 year, and who knows what's going to go on?
Well, thinking about all the things that I've already touched on, something else that was a challenge for me and something that I had to really work on and grow as an individual with is comparing myself to others. And especially when we're all in quarantine and we're all at home, let's say you're competing at your state pageant, the headshots are released and everybody starts freaking out. And they're like, oh, hers is so amazing and she does this and these are my top 5 predictions. Don't pay attention to them. I know you're probably going to look, because I even look. And they mean nothing. They really do. And they don't know who you are. And that's something that I felt when the predictions in Miss USA started coming out. And I wasn't in a lot of them. And I was like, they don't know me. They're just looking at my Instagram. And so don't feel that pressure of what social media wants or expects you to be. Just be yourself and go to have a good time and be the best you for yourself and not for anybody else.
I love it. Thank you so much, Merissa. I am so excited you joined us today. Everybody, this is Merissa Underwood, Miss Montana USA 2020, and I'm so excited to just share this message with the world and keep doing you. I love how you are staying true to yourself. Go crush the vegan fashion week. I'm really, really excited for you and always here to support you, girl.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me. I love stuff like this.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Also, please follow me on social media at Miss Tori Kruse. Until next time, be unstoppable.